Anthropic may have just made small business owners' lives much easier. Last week, they just released this brand new product called Claude for small business. And in this video, I want to show you some of the pros, the cons, some of the things everybody's not talking about, as well as obviously we'll show you exactly how to set this up so that you can start implementing it in your business right away. Now on May 13th, Anthropic officially released the Claude for small business. And what we have here is the release product page. And I want to show you a few of the items that I think will be helpful for you to understand how this works and what this looks like for your business. Now, the very first thing is this sentence right here kind of explains exactly what's happening here. And Claude for Small Business is a package of connectors and ready to run workflows that put Claude inside the tools that small businesses depend on. Now, to put that simply, basically, Claude is able to connect via connectors, which have existed for a long time, but they can connect to certain products that you are likely using as a small business very often, whether that's QuickBooks or HubSpot or Stripe or PayPal. I believe even Canva. All of those things can be connected very easily through this Claude for Small Business. And it's a very simple thing. Now, the thing that makes this a bit different is these workflows that are able to be implemented as well. It's almost like Claude put together these playbooks that allow you to just say, hey, do this thing, and it knows exactly how to do it because Anthropic has put together this playbook in the form of skills. Now, scrolling down further on the page, there's a few items that show you exactly what some of these skills can do. For instance, planning payroll with confidence is one of the things that you could do. So what does that mean? It means that Claude is going to take a look at your cash position. It's going to take a look at the cash that you should be receiving in the next 15, 30 days or whatnot. And it will give you a forecast to say, yeah, you're good. You're going to reach payroll, or you should probably make some sales and collect some income so you can make payroll. You can also close the month with fewer errors. So it will help you reconcile your books against some of the things that look like flags, like things that don't match, as well as even write, as it says in plain English, your profit and loss statement and all of those kind of items. You can get a pulse for your business, which this is probably the one that's most helpful for small businesses, is it will help you see all of the different aspects of your business that you're connected to give you an idea of what's actually happening today. And then finally, running your next campaign is one of the items. It does give you quite a few other items that are included here as well. But you can do things like analyze your HubSpot campaign, draft a promo strategy, generate assets in Canva, and prepare for your next send. So those are some of the things that are included in this Claude for Small Business. And what I want to do next is actually show you how to set this up so you can see what this can look like. So if you're not already there, what you need to do is head over to this site. It is claude.com/download, and I'll have the link in the description for you. But this is where you can download Claude, and I use Mac, so that's what's going to show up here. But if you're using Windows, you can download that here as well. Both work totally fine, and both will give you access to this Claude for small business. Now, once you have Claude installed to your desktop, you want to make sure you're logged in with your account. And what you're going to do is you're going to start with this chat feature up here. You're going to head over to Cowork, and this is where Claude for Small Business lives. So what happens when you're in here, you can almost treat it like you're having a conversation with chat as normal. But what's really cool about Cowork, which we can talk about in a different video, is this allows you to work in projects and work in files on your computer, as well as make all of these connectors work well for you. But what you're going to do is you're going to head to Customize. And when you're in Customize, you're going to click on Browse Plugins. This whole long list, there's tons of connectors in here, which is really sweet because basically Anthropic is like, hey, here are so many different things that you can use, and we already built in the systems for you. But what you're going to look for is small business. And once you see small business, you can click on the plus sign, and now it's actually installed. And what's really sweet about this, you can kind of see all of the skills and the connectors that are already included. So the connectors would be QuickBooks, PayPal, HubSpot, Canva, DocuSign, Slack, Stripe, all of these that you're seeing here. Those are all already included inside of this small business suite that they've got set up. And what you're seeing here, these skills, these are 31 different skills that are incorporated into the entire suite that allows you to use these skills for different reasons. So for instance, the Canva creator takes an approved content brief and executes a campaign end to end. And so it helps you create some of those Canva designs very easily just by using this skill because it's already built in, which is incredible and very, very helpful as well. Now, the next thing you're going to want to do is you want to make sure that you actually do have your accounts connected. And so let me show you how to do that. Click on that X and you're going to head over to connectors. Actually, no, you're going to click on that plus sign there and go to small business. And in here, go to connectors, and what you're gonna see is a long list of all of the connectors that could be incorporated that are based off of this suite. And all you have to do is click install, you log in, you make sure you're all connected, and that way that this suite actually has access to the information. Otherwise, the skills won't work because they have no data to pull. So you do need to make sure that you are connected to these different items so that it can actually pull the right information for you. Now, if you're wondering about the list of skills and how they work and what they do, let me show you exactly how this works. So if you click on skills, you're going to see a few things. This business pulse, and when you click on a skill, by the way, like this business pulse, you're going to see a skill MD, and this just tells you exactly what's happening, and you can understand how this works and how it builds this pulse for you. So you can see it's a one prompt, one page. It pulls live data from all the connected tools, and then it turns it into a single scannable brief. And so this is something that I can foresee a lot of small business owners using every single week. So you're using it like Monday morning, give me a business pulse. How are we doing? What do things look like? So I can get a prepped view for the upcoming week. And then you have so many different things in here, whether it's a content strategy skill as well. This analyzes the sales data from PayPal and QuickBooks to find top performers and slow movers, layers in seasonality, and produces a prioritized 30-day content brief. So it just gives you a strong idea about what is happening in the business and some things that you can do as well. So this is kind of cool because it gives you a 30-day brief and it gets you a lot of information so that you can approve to then start building as well. So if you, let's say this content strategy basically comes up with an idea and a direction, it can tell you what to do and you can approve it. You can make adjustments. You can say yes, no, maybe, or make some changes. And then you can send it over to the Canva creator and it can start creating that for you. So it's really sweet because all of these different skills all talk to each other and they work together. All you have to do is make sure all of your connectors are here in one place. And if you're ever curious about like how these actually work, all you have to do in your chat conversation with Claude is in the co-work section, you do /business pulse and it will just automatically pull that up. So right here, /business, type it all in, and now you've got that skill activated and it will do all that it can to do all the research to give you that one pager right back. So really quick, before we get into kind of like this FAQ section that I have at the end that answers some of the questions that you probably have, I want to give you a couple different caveats to consider because I think it's really important to know this going into the Claude co-work and using this Claude for a small business. Thing number one is garbage in and confident garbage out. When it comes to Claude and co-work, what's going to happen is you're going to have all these connectors and they're all working together and they all have data. And what this small business suite is doing is it's pulling the data and giving you information about it. You can't assume that the information that it gives you is going to be great if all the data in all the other places is not great either. I think about the QuickBooks, for example. If you're taking a look at your payroll and wondering, okay, will we hit payroll this month? Well, if your books are not updated and they're not tracked well, it's probably not going to give you good information back. And so you do need to keep that into consideration that as a business owner, all the data does have to be updated fairly regularly. Now, that's thing number one. Thing number two is I assume that if you're using Claude very regularly and you're starting to use this Claude for business, or Claude for small business, you're going to run into your limits fairly quickly. And what I mean by that is if you're using like the $20 a month subscription for Claude, I would guess that you're going to hit those usage limits fairly fast because it does take a lot of usage in order for Claude to do all of the steps that are included. So if you're using Claude to write and you're using Claude to research and you're asking questions all day long, and then you want to incorporate this, assume that you're going to need to upgrade to at least the $100 a month fairly quickly. So let's jump into the FAQ. Now, the first question is, what if I use different tools? Now, this is a fair question because when you're looking at the list of tools that are available through the connectors, there's only a certain amount, and you might not use things like Slack or Canva or HubSpot or QuickBooks. You might use other tools, and that's absolutely okay. But there are some issues that you're going to run into. what you're going to find is Anthropic built those skills with those specific tools or connectors in mind. And so if you're not using those connectors, those skills won't really work because they are built for those specific connectors. Now, does that mean you can't use them? Not necessarily. It just means that it's not going to be as simple as plug and play. And you're going to run into rebuilding skills based off of the skills that they've provided as templates. But you're going to also probably find that your connectors do exist. They're just not a part of this initial suite that Anthropic has put together. It doesn't mean that they won't have them in the future. They did talk about adding more connectors and more skills as time goes on, but it is something you're going to run into right away if you're not using those skills or using those connectors right now. Now, will Claude move money without asking? I think this is a fair question because at the end of the day, we're worried about the fact that this thing called AI has access to tools like Stripe or like PayPal. But that doesn't necessarily mean it has access to do the things that you're saying or doing the things that you're thinking. You do have to give it permission to do specific things, and it does ask for permission before it does those things as well. It's this approval process that Claude put into place to avoid some of those issues that a lot of us as business owners are struggling with or thinking through, is whether or not AI is safe. And so Anthropic has thought of that. It doesn't mean it's foolproof. Things can happen, but as far as moving money goes, no, I don't see that as necessarily an issue unless you've given it all full reins and you've given it access and given it all of the approval. But that's a very hard thing to do, and I don't see it happening. Now, is my business data actually secure? This kind of goes with the last question. And when it comes to business data, it is a legitimate question. And Anthropic actually did run a survey with small business owners, and half of them named that data security is their single biggest hesitation when it comes to AI. So you just have to know you're not alone with this. And because you're not alone with this, and others have voiced it as well, Anthropic does take that into huge consideration. In fact, I would say that they take it into consideration more than many when in their building, and they're trying to build a very secure AI for you. So there are three things to know though. One is that Claude only sees what you do connect and when you connect it. So every connector runs through Cowork, and that's the desktop version of Claude, with its permission model. So you authorize the specific tools, you can disconnect any of them with one single click, and then Claude can only read those things that you actually give it permission to. So if you haven't given it permission to read things that you're trying to keep safe, it doesn't have the ability to do that. Now, two, nothing gets sent, posted, or paid without your approval. Kind of talked about this in the last question, but even if Claude has access to your PayPal, it can't move money on its own. That is something that is a gate, a security measure that is built in and baked in from the very beginning. Now, three, when it comes to training, so if you're on the team or enterprise, Anthropic does not train models on your data. And if you're on the Pro or Max, raw connector data isn't used for training either, but your conversation content can be unless you opt out in your privacy settings. So if you're running your business through this, two things to do. First thing, you want to check your privacy settings. And if you want to hard guarantee that and make sure it for sure does, get the team, which is at $30 a seat, and removes the question completely. And then one last note, Anthropic says the risk of prompt injection attack is non-zero. What does that mean? Is it's technically possible. Non-zero means there's at least a slight chance. And basically, if like a sketchy email does get pulled into a workflow, there's a small chance that it could try to redirect Claude. So the approval gate is your defense here of you giving it approval or it asking for approval. And so don't approve, those actions that you're not really recognizing or you don't know that they exist. How long does it actually take to set up? Now, that's a good question. It's actually not long at all. If you already have a Claude account, all you have to do is download the desktop app, which just takes less than a minute to do. And then from there, you want to make sure all of your connectors are connected to the account. So that just depends on if you're logged in and have the passwords. But if you do, you can usually do that with just a couple minutes. And then from there, the skills are already built in. The connectors now are already connected. And now you're just in plug and play testing. And so as long as you have the data backed up in all of your other connectors, then you can get up and running within an hour and have a first test run of some of these items so you can get a feel for how they work and how they can help you. And to be honest, if it only took 1 hour to save you 5, 10, or 15 a week,
that's absolutely worth it. And the final question, is this here to stay? Because I think this is fair. This is a fair question. If you're trying to build your business and you want to use tools and you want to use things that work, and you don't want them to disappear 6 months or a year from now, you want to make sure that they do stay. And from all signs I see, this is here to stay. And honestly, it's actually very simple for it to stay. We do see Claude growing. We do see new, very important hires that are happening in the world just at Claude. And we're seeing a lot of connections and deals between Anthropic and other companies. So for one, Claude, in my opinion, is here to stay. And then for two, these things that they're building are natural everyday tools that are already inside of the system. They're just helping you speed up the process so that you can start using them right away. So those aspects point me into the direction that Anthropic obviously is here to stay, but even Claude for small business is here to stay, just for the fact of how they're building it into their ecosystems and the connectors and the connections that they have, like PayPal and QuickBooks and HubSpot and Canva, which are all companies that I truly believe are here to stay. And they also did announce that they're doing like this 10-city US tour with hands-on workshops right now. So I assume that this thing is here to stay for the long haul. So if you found this helpful and you want to stay up to date with all things AI and Claude and how we can build together, especially when it comes to your business, then stick around, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next one.